Hello and welcome to my first tutorial video. In this video, I'll be giving advice on a beginner's level at how to improve your economy. I regard economy management as the most fundamental skill to this game. That's why we'll start from there. Be warned that as a new player, you will probably find these tips trivial at first, but rest assured, once you add them all up, they make for a huge difference in the end. Without further ado, let's get started. The first advice is also the most important one. In fact, if there's only one thing that you should take away from this whole video, it is this advice. Never let your town center go idle. It should at all times be producing villagers or making upgrades. Here's why. We can estimate that the villager gather rate is roughly around 20 resources a minute. This means that if a player has one villager more than his opponent from the start of the game, by the time he would have reached the feudal age, which is roughly around 10 minutes of game time, the resources difference can be as high as 200 or even more. Now 200 extra resources in early feudal age might not sound as a big deal to you, but it is enough to purchase a key upgrade, increasing your economy advantage even further. Or it could also be enough to make some military units faster, applying early pressure and making your opponent play defensively. Small advantages early on can have a snowball effect, and they keep on getting bigger and bigger the longer the game goes on. Keep in mind that this advantage comes from just having one villager more for 10 minutes. You can imagine what happens if you have even more villagers behind, or if you have idle villagers for a long period of time. This may sound like an easy task, but as many things in this game, it is not as easy as it first would seem. Here are a few quick tips to help you from not falling behind on villager production. Manually drop off food in order to reach 50 food faster. Make sure you always have another source of food close by in case your first one runs out. Aim to always have at least 6 villagers on food. This way you'll have just enough food to be able to afford another villager before the one in the queue is created. Make it a habit to throw a glance at your population every time you click to create a new unit, to avoid getting housed. If you happen to get housed even so, make loom or wheelbarrow to make sure that your town center is at least doing something. You can also delete any excessive military units to make population space. Make sure your villagers are safe. Make walls and make loom if you have to. That being said, you should try to avoid making loom for as long as possible, unless you know for a fact that it's keeping you from losing villagers. Having many villagers is great, but you also want them to be working as efficiently as possible. Here are a few quick tips on villager efficiency and eco tips in general. Different food resources are collected at different rates. Collecting shorefish with villagers, for instance, is 30% more efficient than collecting berries. Fishing deep fish is 70% quicker than fishing shorefish with your fishing ships. Have a look at the list and remember which food resources are the fastest. Try and gather those resources first. If your villagers aren't working as efficient as your opponent, it has the same effect as being behind on villagers. Villagers walking is not villagers working. You want to reduce the walking time as much as possible. Here's an example where a villager is walking 5 tiles back and forth compared to the other one that is constantly working. The one working has collected 5 wood whilst the other one was walking. Thus every tile away from your drop-off site results in a 10% penalty towards the gather rate. Once a lumber camp is built, always manually select the closest trees for each of the villages to reduce the walking. Villagers are a bit dumb. They need to be constantly supervised in order to ensure efficiency. Don't have too many villagers at one camp, as blocking and bumping is inevitable. Instead, make a new one once it's overcrowded. Only kill one animal at a time, then meet the case over time and you won't have as much food left in the end. To avoid this and to make a smoother transition to the next animal, manually switch when the current animal has below 5 food left. You can lure boar to your town center. Boars have 350 meat, which is too much to be ignored. It is easy to lose villagers though, so be careful. To lure a boar, hit it twice and run back to the town center. Garrison the villager that the boar is chasing and hit the boar with your other villagers. Ideally, you don't want to lose any villagers in the process, and you want the boar to land directly under your town center so that the villagers can gather it from all sides at once for maximum efficiency. This, however, requires some practice to master. To save wood, try to not make too many farms before the horse color upgrade. It only adds food to the newly created farms. All economy upgrades are good, but you should only ever upgrade what you're currently collecting. Get the upgrades sooner rather than later, but you should never sacrifice villager production in order to make upgrades. When placing farms, know that the ones on the right side of your drop-off site are more efficient, because the villagers only collect food from the left and the middle part of the farm. Thus they have to walk less when they're dropping off their food. To illustrate this, here's how a farm should look like once it is expired. Mining deposits should always have as much surface area as possible. If you follow these few tips, you should have no problem with keeping your villager count high and your economy strong. But it is also important that your villagers do the right thing and not just efficiently. The goal is to have a balanced economy where you spend your resources as soon as you get them. But that is the topic for the next video, where I will be going through basic strategies. I hope you got something out of watching this video. Comments, feedback and likes are always welcome. I wish you good luck in your own games, and I hope to see you in my next video.